Hello and welcome back to Stop and Go F1 for this, our preview for the Spanish Grand Prix. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today in the preview, we're going to look through all the latest news headlines, and there's a lot of them, a lot around the Alpine team especially. We're going to have a look through the first two practice sessions and what that could possibly mean for the weekend. We will have special helmet streets, we'll have a very busy update corner as well. And, of course, we will have my two predictions, and if you've watched this before, you know my predictions have never been wrong, ever, in the history of this channel, and I always get it 100% right, so that's coming up later on today. But before we get into any of that, firstly, like and subscribe, of course, but also a special shout-out to our members. The membership is now open on the YouTube channel. There was a video up earlier this week all about memberships, and if you are an AI Racing World Champion or above, you get shout-outs in every video. And they are Dakota and the Joyous James are our two lovely members. So if you want to be as great as them, go and sign up for the membership right now, as well as a load of other perks you can get on the channel. Anyway, let's get into it then, the preview, starting with the news. And first, a news story that came out earlier this week, which to me makes no sense whatsoever. And it's that Alpine are reportedly considering abandoning its Works Renault engine in 2026 and has open talks with rival manufacturers about maybe becoming a customer team. Now, it seems like at Alpine at the minute, their real thought process is, it's gone really badly, let's just try anything at this point. And for Alpine to go away from Renault engines, I think would be a huge mistake, because the whole point of that team, realistically, is to sell Renault, to make people want to buy Renault cars. I know Alpine is like an extension of Renault, it's more their, like, maybe the sporty range or whatever it is, and, you know, the name is still there, but this is a indictment of Renault engines to say that possibly the reason they're so far behind is because their engines are rubbish. Now, we've known for a while that their engines are rubbish, but not this bad. And realistically, if you're making decisions on who your engine supplier is for 2026 and 2024, you are massively behind, and also probably says that the Renault engine for 2026 is dreadful. So, just like, you know, at Alpine, it never seems to be getting better. Their performances seem to be getting better, but everything behind the scenes suggests it's just constantly getting worse. And we'll talk a bit more about that later on. But yeah, Renault possibly leaving F1 engine manufacturing, which would be huge for them, because they've been there now since, 2000? Well, no, not even that. Way earlier than that, because I think they supply... Renault first came in 1977, I think it was. So, you know, there's a long history of Renault engines there. I'm going to Google that very quickly just to make sure I'm right. I think the Renault team was 1977, but if the engines is different. Yeah, so Renault engines came in 1977. Yeah, so Renault, have they been there consistently? No. So 1977 till 1986. Then they left until 1989, came all the way till 1997. Then they left again, came back in 2001. And then they've been there consistently since from 2001 till 2024. But, you know, those gaps could have been just Renault engines that were called something else at the time. I'm not going to look into it right now. But yeah, a long history of Renault engines in Formula One could come to an end in 2026, the year where the engine is the most important part of the car yet again. So huge, once again, indictment of how crap Renault are behind the scenes right now. Let's move on, though, to better news, and that's about that F1 film that they're making, the Apple film about F1 that Brad Pitt is in. I think Lewis Hamilton's a producer. It's now got a release date. Internationally, it'll be June 25th, and in North America, June 27th. So, is that next week? I think it is. It's next Tuesday, internationally. North America, next Thursday. I saw bits of it being filmed. When I was at the Hungarian Grand Prix last year, I put it in that vlog that I put out. Honestly, I don't have much hype for this film, just because I have no idea what it's about. We've seen it a lot. If you follow F1, we've seen little bits here and there. Well, that's not next week, that is. It's 2025. So it's not next week. Breaking news, a film that's just finished shooting is not coming out next week. It's next week and a year. So, yeah, a long way to come from this, and I guess we'll hear more about it, get trailers and all that kind of stuff. I know it's an F1 film, so I should be hyped for it, but, yes, the words F1 film fill me with dread. I mean, Rush was good, but this is a fictional one. I mean, there's so many great stories in Formula One that I don't think you need to make a fictional story, because if you make a fictional story and something unbelievable happens, that could take you out of the moment. Whereas the many unbelievable things that have happened in the real world of Formula One, even though it is unbelievable, you can go, oh no, that legitimately happened. So I'm not too hyped for this, but my opinion may change in the next year. We'll wait and see. On to more exciting news, though. Surrounding the man of the moment, Adrian Newey, possibly F1 Man of the Year, as for how much he's been discussed recently, of course, is leaving Red Bull, but we don't know where he's going to go. There's been links with him and Ferrari. There's been talks of him and Williams. Apparently, Alpine want him, because Alpine will try anything at this point. But the team that's been pushing out forward now is Aston Martin, because Adrian Newey has made a secret visit to the Aston Martin Silverstone factory. Aston Martin staff were required to leave the factory for the duration of the visit to try and stop the news about Newey's visit being leaked, although it still did. The Telegraph reports that no deal between Adrian Newey and Aston Martin has been made amid high salary demands. Adrian Newey allegedly asking for $25 million annually, which is $31.7 million. £25 million, which is $31.7 million, which is apparently scaring Lawrence Stroll, the billionaire, who seeks a key figure for future F1 success. Now, personally, when Adrian Newey left Red Bull, I made a video on it. I think in that video I said the team I'd like to see him go to is Aston. I think that is such an Adrian Newey team. A team that's on the down and wants to be up here. That could be the next Red Bull. When he joined Red Bull, they were nothing. Maybe they'd had a couple podiums, if that, and he was able to come on at that point and take it to where it is today, where it's dominating the sport. I think if he wants to put the time in, that's the thing. Does Adrian Newey want a deal where it's like, okay, here's 2-3 years and then he's retired forever? Or does he want another 10-year project? Because if he does, I think him and Aston could work really well. If he doesn't want to move to Italy to go to Ferrari. Also, with him being somehow Eddie Jordan is Adrian Newey's manager, which I don't think anyone knew until recently, and the connections between Jordan and Aston, with Aston used to be Jordan Grand Prix. I think an Adrian Newey-Aston Martin partnership for 2026, that would be really fun. Also, they would be connected with Honda, and we know that Adrian likes working with Honda from the stuff that he's done with Red Bull. And imagine the partnership, AAA, Adrian, Aston, Alonso. It markets itself. It's wonderful. Lawrence Stroll, you're a billionaire. Sign him up. And if you want to spare some cash, fire your son. There we go, everyone. We've solved it. What news is next? Oh, we're going back to Alpine, because it's now been confirmed that Flavio Briatore has been employed by the team as an executive advisor for the Alpine F1 team. Now, we spoke about this a few weeks ago when it was, rumoured, but it's now been officially confirmed that he is within the team. I've seen some people be like, oh, they shouldn't hire him, and, I've seen some people be quite upset because, he did have that lifetime ban, but that was overturned 14 years ago now. And I can understand where they're coming from, that he had a lifetime ban, and that's a big deal. But, if they're prepared to overturn that, that's F1 themselves that made that decision, And Alpine are in a hell of a lot of trouble at the minute, so why the hell not employ Flavio Briatore? I stick with my prediction, though, that this time next year, Flavio Briatore will be the team principal of Alpine Formula One team. That's the only way I see this ending. And you know what? Despite him being a very controversial man, and despite him maybe being a bit of a bastard, he gets success, you know? He's the guy who brought Michael Schumacher to his first couple championships. He's the guy who brought Alonso to his first couple championships, and still is the manager of Alonso to this day. So he knows what he's doing in regards to a Formula One team. And if Alpine need anything right now, more than Adrian Newey, more than a different engine supplier, they need someone at the top of the company who knows what they're doing. And Flavio Briatore, like him or not, is that guy. And hopefully he can turn that team around. Like I said, they are getting better. They're definitely better now than they were at the start of the year, but they're nowhere near where they should be considering the budget that they have and what they have available to them. So I think bring Flavio in can only help. It can't get worse. Right, and one more news story before we head and have a look at this weekend, and it's one which for me is just really stupid. Because I've forgotten his name now, but it's one of the guys who is like the head of Silverstone, has come out this week and said that Red Bull's recent dominance of F1 is a key factor in the British Grand Prix tickets still being available for next month's race. This is one of the stupidest things I think I've ever heard, and really shows that the people who work at Silverstone, well, not all of them obviously, but the higher-ups, those who make the decisions at Silverstone, haven't got a clue. Because if they really think that Red Bull's dominance is the reason that people aren't selling out Silverstone this year, they not only don't listen to what the real fans are actually saying, but they have no idea what the real world is whatsoever. Silverstone has had controversy after controversy over the last few years for their ticket prices, including that awful system they employed, I think it was last year, where depending on demand, their tickets would actively rise in front of your eyes over seconds. The ticket prices would go up and up and up. The cost of the Silverstone tickets is unbelievable. Now, F1 ticket costs are expensive no matter what, but Silverstone takes the cake. I saw someone put, I think it might have been Autosport, put out a statistic this, I think it was today actually, of every circuit's average price for a 3-day entry. So it's just a general admission, and the average price is about £360 for a race. Silverstone is about £500. So you're talking £200 over the average price. Now, as I said earlier in this video, I went to the Hungarian Grand Prix last year. It was cheaper for me and my friends to fly to Austria, hire a car, drive the car from Austria to Hungary, stay somewhere for 3 nights, buy not your general admission but grandstand tickets at Turn 1 at Hungary for all 3 days, drive back to Austria and fly home. That was cheaper than to just buy tickets to go to Silverstone. The reason Silverstone isn't selling out is because the tickets are too expensive in a cost of living crisis. Not because Max Verstappen's doing well. It's one of the stupidest things I've ever heard anyone say. And it just shows that they're just separate from reality and they won't change. And you know what? It'd be a shame because Silverstone is one of the best tracks on the entire calendar. And if we have, this could end with, we're not at this stage yet, but if Silverstone isn't selling the tickets that they want to and is struggling, we could see it removed from the calendar. And it'll be removed from the calendar because the guy at the top can't see clearly. Because not only are they not selling the tickets that they want to, they're not selling out, but they're selling less tickets this year. They're a few thousand down on what they were a few years ago. and they're not selling out because they're too expensive. Make them cheaper, release more. Business is supply and demand. Silverstone, the home of the British Grand Prix, and the British people are some like the most dedicated Formula One fans in the world. You have all the demand right there, but you're cutting out your audience with your stupid prices. It's utterly ridiculous, and that man is a fool. Let's move on now to Upgrade Corner, everybody, because it's a fun one. Upgrade Corner today. We'll go through all the teams. I've taken out all the circuit-specific upgrades, so yes, the main upgrades that we have here. So Red Bull brought a new beam wing and rear wing. Aston, front suspension, front corner, rear wing. Racing Bills have brought quite a bit. It's the engine cover, side pod inlet, floor body, and rear wing. Ferrari have brought the most though. Engine cover, floor fences, floor body, floor edge, diffuser and halo. Stake F1 team Kick Sauber have brought a rear wing and front corner. Haas have brought a new rear impact structure, so that's just to do with the protection of the car rather than any speed upgrade for them for there. And the teams that have brought nothing are McLaren, Williams and Alpine. Now Mercedes have brought something, but it doesn't technically count as an upgrade. They've brought a new floor, but the floor is identical to the old floor, it's just lighter. So it doesn't actually count as a new floor. So Mercedes, they go a little bit quicker this weekend. Maybe that is connected. It probably will be a lighter floor. In terms of like the teams who brought stuff though, Ferrari obviously bringing the most. And Ferrari seem to be in a much better position here than they were a couple weeks ago in Canada. So their upgrades seem to be working for them. The Racing Bills though, thus far in the practice sessions, haven't really shown anything. And they brought quite a bit here. So that is a little bit concerning for them. We'll get into that a bit more in the free practice roundup, but it's time, everybody, for special helmets treat. Here we go. This is the special helmets that we have this week, starting with Carlos Sainz, of course, home Grand Prix for him, one of two Spanish drivers on the grid, but the orange Spanish driver to have a special helmet, and here it is. Not too different from his regular one, to be honest, but a bit of a different design on the side there. Let's go on to the next one. Who have we got next? Nico Hülkenberg, also not too different from his one really, but a bit more Spanish colours on the front. And then it's also Max Verstappen who's brought this helmet out. This is for the entire European leg though, not just the Spanish Grand Prix, the orange helmet here. And it looks like it's got just a picture of a crowd in there as well. It's really, very much a Dutch helmet, but he's going to have it for all of the European races there. So not the most inspired, but still pretty good. Possibly the worst special helmet streak we've ever done. There you go. Right, what's next? Free practice roundup then. So, an interesting one today. So, FP1 was topped by Lando Norris, Max Verstappen coming in second, Carlos Sainz in third. What's really interesting is how close it is here. So, Lando and Max separated by 0.024 there. But it seems like all of the top four teams are really close. So Red Bull, McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes, all four of them are really just vying for position here, really looking good. Even Perez has been up in the mix as well. So that's an interesting one. Aston are one to discuss as well. They came to Canada and looked fantastic. They'd come to Spain and looked the complete opposite. They're back to where they were, just in that midfield with really no one. If anything, of the other teams, the fifth fastest team looks like it might be Alpine this weekend. Esteban Ocon finished 8th in FP1, and in FP2, Pierre Gasly was an incredible 4th. So that was really good there. In terms of teams who are struggling, I would say it would be Racing Bulls and Haas. Both teams not really looking to be on the pace so far in the practice sessions. Ollie Behrman was in the car for Hülkenberg in FP1. He looked pretty good, didn't crash. Finished the thing. Fine, well done, Ollie. We'll see you next year in that Haas more often. But yeah, looking at it, the top four teams are very close. And then there's a big gap and then there's everyone else. FP2 finished with Lewis Hamilton on top, Sainz second, and Norris in third. And then Hamilton and Sainz, once again, very close between the top two, because Sainz was 0.022 off the back of Hamilton, and Norris in there as well, 0.055 off the back of Lewis Hamilton. So, yeah, really, really close between those top four teams. As I said, Gasly is a mad one to finish fourth. No idea what happened there. But, yeah, that... We'll go... Is it my predictions next? I think it is predictions. Yes, it is, everyone. It's time for predictions. And my prediction here is, the Spanish Grand Prix is a bit of a weird one, because it's a track that we go to a lot. And I think because it's a track we go to a lot, it's normally a very boring race. It's a track where you can make mistakes and they're not massively punished, although it does seem that there's a bit more gravel around everywhere at the minute, so maybe they'll be a bit less punished. But my first prediction for this race is that the top 8 in the race will be the top 4 teams. So the top 8 will be made up of 2 Red Bulls, 2 Ferraris, 2 McLarens, and 2 Mercedes. Not necessarily in that order, but I think they will make up the top 8, which I don't think has actually happened this year, unless I'm wrong, but that will be our top 8 there. My second prediction is a Carlos Sainz podium, because I think he's looking good so far. He has got a 100% point scoring record at this track, at his home Grand Prix. And I think it's looking more and more likely he is going to Williams, so this might be his last chance in a long time to actually get a podium here. I don't think he's had a podium here before. I'm just going to double check. Results by circuit. Barcelona. Yeah, he's never got a podium here before. His best ever finish was 4th in 2022. So this might be his last chance to get a podium here. So I think he's going to go for it, and I think he's going to get it. Carlos Sainz on the podium, and the top 8 to be the top 4 teams. Let me know what you think heading into this race. We'll have a load of coverage across all this weekend for this race, because it's not just F1, but it's F2, F3 and F1 Academy. F1 Academy is doing qualifying as we speak, but yeah, I think the qualifying for F3 and F2 has already happened. Well, I know, I watched it. F3 is Mansell and Lindblad on the front row for Sunday, which is the 100th Formula 3 race ever. And then F2 was Paul Aaron and someone else on the front row. I can't remember who it was. I'm going to Google it. But yeah, Ollie Behrman had another bad qualifying in Formula 2 today. Qualifying Paul Aaron, Jack Crawford in P2. So that is all looking good. So all of that to come this weekend. Make sure you subscribe for all of that. We'll have qualifying tomorrow. Recap of all the races on Sunday, F1, F2, F3, F1 Academy. And then on Monday we'll have driver ratings for the F1 as well. And this is the start of the first triple header of the year. So loads of stuff coming up over the next month or so. So make sure you subscribe for all of that. As I said, memberships available if you want to have your shout outs or access to content early, or even other stuff that is also available. That's available through the memberships. Until then though, I'll see you later. Have a good one. Goodbye.